All right, welcome to Introduction to Speech Understanding in KCG in uh, spring 2026. Um, so the all of the material for this course is going to be posted on the Canvas on the KCG website. So you can see that at kinglms.kcg.edu, you can find this course, and in this course you should already have available to you the course outline. The lectures will always be at this URL every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. The lecture materials will always be at this GitHub site. And then the homework you will always turn in from through Canvas. So the first homework is already available to you. You can see that it says enter here the URL for your own GitHub repository's copy of homework.1.py. Be sure to change the two strings first. So let me go ahead and open up the GitHub. All of the lectures are available already. It's possible that I may change some of these lectures during the semester, but probably not. Probably they will be the 14 lectures that are shown here. The first lectures 1 through 4, are an introduction to Python. Most of you have done some programming in Python, but not all. And so I'm not going to assume that you've programmed in Python before. I will spend the first 4 or 5 lectures describing Python, basically covering the background of Python. So the first lecture will be installing Python. The second lecture will cover variables. The third lecture will cover lists. The fourth lecture will cover dictionaries. The fifth lecture will cover NumPy and Matplotlib, which are the two mathematical programming libraries available in Python. And then lectures 6 through 10 will cover automatic speech recognition. Lectures 6, 7, and 8 really are just about how to work with sound in a computer. Lectures 9 and 10 and 11 talk about automatic speech recognition. Lectures 12, 13, and 14 talk about automatic speech synthesis. And in each of those lectures, we'll start out by talking about some of the fundamentals, and then we'll go to looking finally in lecture 11 and lecture 14, we'll look at some standard toolkits that are available in Python. Each week there will be a homework similar to the one that I showed you. So each week there will be a homework like this where I will actually do the homework in class, and you should work right along with me. You should work at the same time that I'm working if you can, so that by the end of the lecture you can upload your homework directly into Canvas, and then I will grade the homework every week. If in any given week you don't get all of the points, please resubmit your homework a second time, 1 week later or 2 weeks later, and I will regrade the homework every time it's resubmitted. So let's go ahead and look at the GitHub. Let me start out with lecture 1. So there's a homework1.py and a lecture 1 notebook. The notebook you can actually view directly on GitHub. One of the purposes of today's lecture will be to show you how to download it to your own computer so that you can view it on your own computer. But for today, let's start out by just viewing it directly on GitHub. So in this first lecture, I'm going to talk about how to create a GitHub account for yourself if you don't already have one, how to fork the course repository, how to install the GitHub desktop onto your own computer, and then how to clone the repository, edit the repository, add your changes to the repository, commit your changes to your local copy of the repository, and then push it to your account on GitHub so that there's an account that copies your work. And that will give you everything you need for the homework for this week. So first of all, create a GitHub account for yourself. GitHub started out as an open source project. GitHub is actually a commercial company now, and so they do sell services, but they live essentially by supporting open source software. And so it's worthwhile for you to have an account on GitHub. If you don't already have an account, go to github.com and create for yourself an account. So let's see. I wonder if I can log off and show you this. When you first log on, it will show you a picture that looks like this. It will show you sign in or sign up. And if you click on sign up, then you can enter your own email address. and choose a username and password. So here I've created the user. Here's a screenshot of what happened when I was creating my account with jhasegawa@gmail.com. This is what I call my student account. So if I go to the if I go to github.com, you'll see that I actually have two different accounts that I normally use. Here's my teacher account that has my picture on it, and I can also change to my student account, which is an account that I use in order to make copies of the software. So here's my student account, here's my teacher account, and I can change between those two accounts. The difference between them is just um, which email address I used when I signed up. So when I created the teacher account, I created it using my illinois.edu address. When I created the student account, I created it using my Gmail address. And similarly, if you want to, you can create multiple accounts using multiple email addresses. Oh, now I'm having trouble finding the lecture again. Here it is. So first of all, if you don't yet have a GitHub account for yourself, please create one. Go to github.com. You'll see a screen like this one. Click on sign up in order to create an account. You'll need to enter your email address. You'll need to create a password for yourself and make a note of it somewhere so that you can sign in. Enter a username that you want. This will be your username at GitHub. So it may be different from your email address. And then specify, would you like to receive product updates and announcements via email? And then you'll have to do some kind of verification to prove that you're a human being. And then GitHub will send a code to your email address. And so you need to go to your email browser, find the email, and copy the code into the GitHub webpage so that GitHub knows that you're entering a real email address. So you do something like this. They sent a launch code to jhasegawa@gmail.com. And so I entered the code here and it created my account. Once you've done that, then there's just some account setup features. Most of these are having to do with the fact that GitHub is a commercial company and they do want to make money. And so they ask, are you working with a large company? If you're working with a large company, then they want to be able to sell you advanced services. You can specify that you're a student, and then they're more likely to give you access to services for free, although there's not really much difference. GitHub is very much open source oriented, and so they're very much willing to support people creating free software. You can also tell GitHub what your role is in most software projects, collaborative coding or automation or security or client apps or project management. As you can see, I chose collaborative coding because the reason I use GitHub is so that I can work on code projects where I'm sharing the task with other programmers. And then finally, GitHub will take you to your GitHub dashboard. And now you have a GitHub account. So if I go to, let me open another window here. If I go to github.com, you can see that this is my teacher dashboard. And what it shows me is it invites me to join GitHub Education. Over on the left, it has the repositories that I work with most often. These are the different code bases that I work with most often. Here's one with PrairieLearn. Here's Intro Speech Understanding. Here's my references database. Here's the train test split for a database that I manage. Here's a set of laboratories that I manage. These are different repositories that I manage. ShuenZ2 is a different person with whom I frequently collaborate. Speech Accessibility is a group with whom I frequently collaborate. I also showed you that if you click on your picture, you can change your account if you have multiple accounts. So I can switch to my student account and I get the student account dashboard. My student account only has two repositories, the teacher version of Intro Speech Understanding and the student version of Intro Speech Understanding. So let me switch back to the teacher version. All right, so here's your dashboard. From your dashboard, now we want to actually fork the course repository. So now you've created your own account, and now I want you in your own account to create a copy of this repository. And here's the repository. Jay Hasegawa, this is my teacher account, and Intro Speech Understanding is the name of the repository. So if you go, you should see it look just like this. And what you want to do is you want to fork it. So you'll go up here to fork and create a new fork. You'll click on this button that says create a new fork. And this will allow you to create a fork of this account. What that means is it will take everything that I've written in my version of the code, and it will copy it onto your account on github.com. This is still not on your own computer. This is copying it from my account on GitHub to your account on GitHub. So this is still copying it from my account on GitHub to your account on GitHub. So you select fork and then create a new fork. And what that will do is it will take you to a screen that looks like this. Create a new fork where it will ask you who is the owner, and you should choose your own account here as the owner of the new fork. And then the repository name, you can choose any name you want, but I recommend leaving it as Intro Speech Understanding. That way you can easily see the connection to the original code base. So we can choose owner and repository name, and then you can add additional description if you want to. And then once you're satisfied that all of this is correct, all of this, you shouldn't have to change anything. You should be able to leave it exactly the way it is. Then you can click Create Fork. And what that will do is copy all of the code from my account on GitHub to your account on GitHub, so that your account on GitHub has a copy of the code. The next screen then will be a picture of your fork. This is your own copy on GitHub of all of the class code. So next to the cat logo up here, you should see your account name and then the repository name, Intro Speech Understanding. It will also show you, so here you can see Intro Speech Understanding, and then it says forked from Jay Hasegawa Intro Speech Understanding. So here, up here, this should be your name. Down here, this should be my name, showing that you have a copy of the code which was copied from this original source. All right, let's see. Yeah, if you click on code and then click on local clone HTTPS, then you can see the history for this repository. So let me do that. Let me go to GitHub and find my copy of the code. Let me first of all switch to my student account. And then let me go to my student copy of the repository. So this is, you should see something similar in your own account, but instead of my name, you should see your name here. If you click on HT code local clone HTTPS, then you can see the URL for this repository. So if we click on code HTTPS, we can see here's the web URL for this repository. So this shows exactly the same address that you see up here. This address, github.com, Jay Hasegawa student, intro speech understanding. This is the same address that's shown down here. All right. All right. So there are a number of, now that you've got a copy of the code on your account on GitHub, now we want to make a copy on your own laptop. So now we're going to copy the code to your own laptop. There are many ways to do this. Expert coders often do all of this in the command line, but in order to make it easier, I'm going to recommend that we do this using the desktop, GitHub desktop. Certain features are difficult to manage in the command line and are easier to manage in the desktop. And so I'm going to recommend that you go to desktop.github.com and download the GitHub desktop. Download now. And for me, I'm on an Apple computer, so I would download for Apple Silicon. Actually, I think mine is Apple. And when I download it, it's going to tell me that I already have it installed. I already have it installed. But if you do the same thing, if you download it, then you'll be able to install the GitHub desktop, and then you can manage all of the transfer of code between github.com and your local laptop computer will all be managed by this desktop application. So here I have GitHub Desktop, and I can just open it. Oh, this is not supported on this Mac. That's interesting. Um, I'm not sure why that happened, but I already have it installed. So let me just open the version that's installed. Once you get it correctly installed, it should look something like the GitHub Desktop application that I'm opening. Okay, and it's looking for a repository that it last cloned, and I don't have it there, so I'm going to clone it again. In fact, I'm going to first synchronize this fork. I'm going to discard my local commits, and then I'm going to synchronize it to make sure that my version on github.com matches the reference version. Looks like it does, but it's taking a while. Let me see in the reference version. The next thing that should happen is that we open the app and choose sign into github.com. That's right. If you're not yet signed in, then you'll need to sign into your GitHub account. And then you'll need to, when you click on sign into github.com, it will open a tab in your browser that allows you to authorize the desktop app. And what this does is um, this screen is on the desktop app, this screen is on the browser. This allows those two to communicate with each other. It says that you're authorizing the GitHub desktop application to log into your account on github.com. So if you click authorize desktop, then enter your account's password and click confirm, then it will confirm that you are in fact logged into the desktop application that you just opened is really you. This configuration is mostly not necessary. The name here should be the name of your account. The email address here is never really used, so you don't need it. Use your GitHub account name and email address, and then click Finish, and that will install the desktop application so that you can use it. And I did this move and restart in order to restart the app. Is anybody installing the GitHub desktop, and are you able to use it? So what you should see once you've got it installed is something that looks like this, where you get this "Let's get started" window, and you can create a tutorial repository, or you can clone a repository from the internet. And what you want to do is clone a repository from the internet. You've already created a fork from my account onto your account on GitHub.com. Now you want to clone the version of that code from your account down to your local computer. So fork means copy from my account to your account. Clone means copy from your account to your local computer and back again. So this second item, clone a repository from the internet, means that you want to clone the repository. And that's what I'm going to do here. It says, can't find intro speech understanding because I deleted it on my laptop. And so what I'm going to do is clone it again. I'm going to hit clone again, and this does the same thing that hitting this clone a repository from the internet button does here. So you clone a repository, you specify your account name and the URL of the account that you want to clone, and that allows you to copy all of the code down to your local computer. Once you've copied the code to your local computer, specify how are you planning to use the repository. You can choose for my own purposes. You're not actually contributing to the parent project because it's not going to be copied back into the class repository. So just choose for my own purposes, and then you should get a window that looks like this. It should say the code exists. We can open the repository in a local text editor. And here I'm opening the repository in Emacs, and you can see now I have on my own computer, I have all of these homeworks, homework1.py, for example, looks like this, and I can see them all on my own computer. So once you have it copied to your own computer, you can open it in a text editor. You can show it in the Finder. This will show where it is. On my computer, I have it in the directory called KCGI, and then I have Intro Speech Understanding, and then inside of that, I have Lecture 1. Lecture 1 has grade.py and homework1.py and lecture 1 notebook.ipynb. All right. And now for this week, we're not going to actually start Python. These are all running in Python. You can see that this is a .py file, so this would actually run in Python. You can see also that that this is a Jupyter notebook, so this should run in Python. But I'm going to leave all of that until next week. There's an interesting thing. Let's see if I can find. If I just double click on this IPYNB, the way that my computer is set up, it will open it using Spyder, which is an application programming interface for Python that I don't like very much. Some people like it very much. Instead, I'm going to recommend just opening homework1.py using any text editor. Let me try opening it with Emacs, Idle, Microsoft Word. Let me open it using TextEdit. And if you open it using any text editor, then you'll see that this is the homework for the very first lecture. Let me see if I can increase the font size. This is the homework for the very first lecture of Introduction to Speech Understanding. Your first homework is just to change each of the two following strings, add the changes to your repository, commit the changes, push the changes to your repository, and then tell me about it. So the first one should be changed from change this to test. So the recommended change is instead of the words change this, change the first one to test, change the second one to hello. And then in whatever text editor you're using, just save that change. Now, if I close the text editor, now if I open it again, when I open it the second time, it should show up as having the changes are there, the change test and the change hello. So this is a different text editor that I have on my computer. All right, so that change has been made. Now that we've made the change, now we're going to try to upload it back to github.com. So now you've forked it from my account to your account. You've cloned it from your account down to your computer. Now you've changed it on your computer. Now you want to clone it back to your account on github.com and then tell me about it by giving me the URL so that I can grade your homework, so that I can see that you've done it. So change it as shown here so that string 1 is test, string 2 is hello, and then save it. Now let's open GitHub Desktop again. Now if I open GitHub Desktop, you can see, oh, there are some changes. String 1 has been changed from change this to test. String 2 has been changed from change this to hello. The process of checking that change in has two steps. First, we do what's called committing it. Committing it means that I mark that change as a change that I want to keep. So when I commit one file to main, it says update homework1.py. Let me say, yes, homework1. So let me just give some comments. I changed the strings. These comments are just for your own sake, so you remember what you've done, and you say commit one file to main. That has not yet copied it to GitHub. That's just committed it locally on your own computer. Now I've made a marked change on my own computer. Now I have this option. I can push it to the origin, which will push it back to github.com. So when I click push to origin, now it gets pushed back to github.com. Now if I go to my student account here, Intro Speech Understanding, Lecture 1. Now on my student account on github.com, I can see that those changes have been made. String 1 is test, string 2 is hello. So these changes have been made on my github.com account. And now the only thing that you have left to do is to copy this URL and go to the canvas for this course, go to the homework, and copy that URL in response to this homework. If you copy the URL here and submit it, then before next week's class, I will grade it. And if I can go to your account and I can see that your account has these strings changed correctly on your GitHub account, then I'll give you 100 points for the first homework. That's all we're doing the first week. We're not even starting Python the first week. We're just running GitHub and making sure that you can fork the code to your own GitHub account, clone it to your local computer, edit it, clone it back to github.com, and then tell me the URL. So, well, this is supposed to be an hour and a half class, but I've somehow managed to finish the lecture in only 1 hour. I think I'm going to go ahead and just let it be a half-hour class, and let me go ahead then and run the attendance. Let me first of all stop recording.